Right, can we start with the salawat, please? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Are you serious? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So I understand you had book day today. Yeah? Oh, okay. I have 9 grandchildren, don't worry. Can you imagine? Dressing all 9 of them. Anyway, there's a couple of announcements before I start. If your children are not well, if they've got something that, even knits, okay, I've been through the whole lot. Don't worry, I've got 5 children, 9 grandchildren. I know what they mean. For God's sakes, don't bring them in. It's really important you do that. I don't want to, there's nothing to be really worried about. There was a child who was not well, but he wasn't, or she wasn't infectious, and they were all right. But just don't bring them in, because everybody else panics. And come and tell us, or come and check with the doctor. Are you all right with that? I mean, I know you'll miss out, but I'm sure the teachers will give you all the worksheets or whatever is necessary to backdate it, okay? Are you good with that? Can you imagine me telling you that there's nits around? None of us would be here, except those wearing scarves. Nobody's got nits, by the way, okay? Just so that you know. But if there is anything, come and ask us first, okay? Don't wait for us to find out. Okay, revision. Asma al-Husna. Do you remember the 3 R's? Come on, wake up. Rahman, Rahim, and Ra'uf. You ever get stuck in life? This is again a hadith of the 8th Imam. He said his father always told him, recite Ya Ra'uf, Ya Rahim, Ya Ra'uf, Ya Rahim. So now you're stuck in a situation. Somebody is really mean, kids are shouting, they're not listening, Ya Ra'uf, Ya Rahim. Okay, the 4 F's, forgiveness. Ghafar, Ghafoor, Tawab, and Afu. Afu is the one which you rub out everything. The headquarters from which all the Asma al-Husna come is Ya Hayyu, Ya Qayyum. To change the impossible into the possible, Ya Allah, Ya Hayyu, Ya Qayyum. And knowing all of them, there's nothing wrong. So you will try all of them. When I say try, you will recite all of them. Yesterday I said Mannan, if you remember, because it comes in the dua, right? 4 U's, do you remember? It's up there on the screen. Unlimited, uninterrupted, unasked, and unconditional. Okay. And then I told you about the Prophet and about the guy who was doing the du'as, and the Prophet said, well, he's reciting this name, Dhul Jalali wal Ikram. Yesterday I did was with you. Wahid, Ahad, and Samad. Samad is that amazing name, okay? Wahid, Ahad, Samad. And you remember JGM, just give me. You remember that? Jami', Ghani, and Mughni. You remember what Ghani was? Number 88. And somebody said, could they just say 88 and 89? I'm sure Allah knows the numbers. So 88 and 89. Again, on your bookmarks, I think I've got one here. I had a few here. I don't know, somebody's taken it. So on the bookmark, you'll be highlighting them. So hopefully you'll know all 99 quite soon. Now today, I'd like to do a different one. Now take a few more. So today we'll do number 47, which is Al-Wadud. Now last year we gave these books out to you. I've annotated my book like that, and I'm hoping you will annotate it. But Wadud is number 47. How do you remember it's number 47? Well, first of all, 47 in the Quran is Surah Muhammad. And you love the Prophet, right? So you can remember 47. It's your own way of remembering it. There is a difference in the Arabic language between hub and wood. There's 2 things. You say hub is when you love someone, right? When you say general love. Wood is a little bit different. It's a bit stronger. If I can say it's one up to hub. And maybe if I can put it in a better way, it's like a love that is selfless. Hub can still be, if you meet my needs, I will love you. The moment you stop meeting my needs, I'll walk. But wood is something else. It's selfless love. So in the Quran, when Allah talks about 2 people getting married, He talks about mawadda wa rahma. Inna fi dhalika laayatin liqawmin yatafakkarun. In this there is a sign of people who think. وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ, he says, أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا. And one of his signs is that he has created from you your spouses. وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُم مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. He puts in you mawadda, which is this wood, and rahmah. إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِقَوْمٍ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. In this there is a sign for people who reflect. I would suggest, when you feed your family, in the food when you're cooking it, in the water when you're serving it, recite Ya Wadud. Prevention is better than cure. There will always be differences in families. To prevent those differences, Ya Wadud. I know people try to recite it when they get married or they want somebody to love them or whatever. Just recite it. Prevention is better than cure. Okay? Are you good with Ya Wadud? And literally, you can't upset Allah. You just can't. It's like a mom. The child might do a lot of things, but at the end of the day, the child is still a child. In the same way, Ya Wadud is that quality of Allah. Whoever you are, He will take you back. Don't let anybody tell you that He won't. Next one you know is Sabur, right? Sabur is number 99. Now, everybody thinks Sabr is patience. So, let me give an example. Say you were in your house, and suddenly you were frying something and the pan got on fire. Okay? Is sabr waiting for everything to be all right, or will you do something? Will you just say, inshallah, everything will be okay? You will actually take a fire blanket or a fire extinguisher or a towel with something, water, whatever. Don't put water in a hot pan, but you will cover it with a fire blanket, right? Or you put a fire extinguisher. That is sabr. Sabr is not passive. Sabr is proactive. It's only when you've done your best that you say, all right, I'll leave it up to Him. So when things are getting difficult, again, Ya Sabur. So do you remember which ones we did? The 3 R's, the 4 F's, Mannan. Come on, I'm waiting. HQ. I just did them with you. Ya Wadud, Ya Sabur. Now we'll do these 3. Khaliq, Bari and Musawwir. Do any of you know Gujarati? You know what bar is in Gujarati? Bar is 12. You know that? Bar Imam, bar is 12. So you remember Bari as number 12, okay? Khaliq, Bari and Musawwir. These 3 normally you're told to recite when you're pregnant. If you want good children or pretty children, you have to put the order in, right? So if you look at that, let's try and make it a bit easier. Khaliq is like the one who creates. And the one who creates is like the architect, who actually draws the plans. Bari is the one who takes the creator's plans and then he makes it into molds. So if you look at the human being, you've got the Khaliq who makes the mold of the man and the woman, right? Musawwir is the individual. He fashions. Each one of us is different. None of us has the same thumbprint. That's probably why we've got thumbprint there, right? So if I told you Khaliq, Bari, Musawwir, in your head, architect, builder, decorator. Are you good? Architect, builder, decorator. If you want your child, put in an order. You want your child to have this, 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 and they can't do it anymore once they're born, okay? And then the stomach, put in an order. And read Ya Musawwir, Ya Khaliq, Ya Bari, Ya Musawwir. Has a phenomenal effect. Okay, I love this one. Jabbar. Everybody gets scared of Jabbar because they think, oh my goodness, that's hard. But you do wudu at Jabira, right? So that Jabira is like the cast, the plaster cast you have when you've broken a bone. It enforces repair. Sometimes you say things like, but I can't help it. I don't know, I shout, I scream, I just can't help it. We get children at workshop who will come and say, but Umi Auntie, I just get angry. And then you say, but you can't just get angry. They say, yeah, but my mom says that her chacha, kaka, mama was angry, so I've got it in my genes. There's no such thing as genealogy in anger, okay? So Jabbar is one who forces you to get better. And probably the best example you can give is when Yukabid. You know who Yukabid is? Musa, the mother of Musa. Now, for example, just imagine you're told to save your child, you have to throw your child in the river. It's very hard for any mama to do. So Allah says, Ya marrabat ala qalbi Musa, this is in Dua al-Mashlul. He held on to Musa's heart. So Jabbar is the one who forces your heart to get better. The ulama used to say, Ya Jabirul Kasir, when they were faced with an overwhelming difficulty that they couldn't control. So when your heart gets broken, when somebody says something, somebody does something, I don't know. Kids tend to break hearts more than anybody else, okay? So, Ya Jabir al-Kasir, inshallah things will get better. Okay. Qawi, you know what Qawi is? Strong. So you want strength, Ya Qawi. I can't say more than it. The Prophet said the strong man is not the one who wrestles others, but the one who controls himself when he's angry. But Qawi is literally strong. Tell your children when they're going to play football or sports or whatever to read Ya Qawi. I'll come to a dua that is really good. The other one is Qayyum. We did this. We did Hayyul Qayyum. Hayy, we said, was the ever-living. Qayyum was the one ever supporting. So maybe I can tell you, if you have a plant in the garden that needs support, you put a stick in, right? And you let the plant hold on to that support. Think of Qayyum as that, the stick that gives you support. Qadir is the one who can do absolutely everything. When it says the able, means one who can do whatever he wishes. So the example you've got up there on the screen is Prophet Zakaria. So that's Prophet Zakaria. He's in his 90s. He looks around him and he can't find anybody who will take over the, if I can say, the propagating of the word of God. But when he goes to say the Maryam, he sees fruits and he says, where is that from? And she says, Min indillah, this is from Allah. There and then, Quran says, Hunalika, just there and then. What did Zakaria do? He raised his hands in dua and he said, Ya Allah, I need a child. Now, whether he was 75 or 80 or 90, but he was way over the age of having a child. His wife had never had children before, but she had a child, and I told you this yesterday. Always ask for up there. Reach for the stars. Pray to Allah that your child becomes, I don't know, the president, a global president. Pray for him to become the scientist or the doctor that will invent things. Don't pray for little things. That is your micro. Always pray for the best. So in the same thing, so Al-Qadir gives him Yahya. And remember that. It always does work, okay? The next one is Muqtadir. Muqtadir, now if you look at the difference between Qadir and Muqtadir. So Qadir is the one who can do anything. Muqtadir is probably the one who, if I can say it, who engages the work of the Qadir. You know, like we had yesterday. Do you remember what we did yesterday? Ghani and Mughni. Remember what we said about Ghani? Ghani was rich. Mughni was one who enriches. Okay, so if we go back, Qadir is the one who is able to do anything. Muqtadir, who enables that. He's powerful. He makes sure that Qudrat works. Okay. This, please write down. Ya Qadirul Muqaddirul Qawiyul Qaim. I was taught this by my father when I was very, very young. My father died when I was 10. And I used this mainly when he died, because he died when he was 37. And I can still remember, I'm 66 now, so that's 56 years ago, and I can still remember feeling so lost, so not knowing what to do, but I remember his words, Ya Qadirul Muqaddirul Qawiyul Qaim. And any time I need strength, whether it is when I was giving birth to my children or when something went wrong, it was always Ya Qadirul Muqaddirul Qawiyul Qaim. Shout it out. Teach your children. When they feel weak, when they're in front of a bully, when they feel bullied, when they feel life's not going right, Ya Qadirul Muqaddirul Qawiyul Qaim. Can you remember that? Can you say it with me? Ya Qadirul Muqaddirul Qawiyul Qaim actually gives you the strength to go through whatever life throws at you. And life throws some funky curved balls, okay? Right, now today is Thursday night. And it's a Thursday night in the month of Ramadan. It's like rahmah upon rahmah upon rahmah upon rahmah. Don't waste these nights. There's not many. There's another 3 coming. That's about it. And then we're done. So tonight, when the children have gone to sleep, even when they haven't gone to sleep, tasbihat arba, subhanallahi, walhamdulillahi, wa la ilaha illallahu, wallahu akbar. It's not that difficult. Teach the children before they go to sleep. Now this is not only for the month of Ramadan. If you had one of these printed out and you put them in your child's bedroom, they'll recite it. Children are amazing because they will keep on reciting it. Salawat, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. It solves so many things. And if you do it with your children when they're young, it'll become a habit. They won't sleep without doing it. I put Suratul Jumu'ah in the first rakat of Maghrib, Suratul Ikhlas in the second rakat. You can pick up your Quran and read it. But Suratul Jumu'ah, do you know how many ayat it is? 11. That's it. يُسَبِّحُ لِلَّهِ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ الْمَلِكُ الْقُدُّوسِ الْعَزِيزِ Rahim. Just recite it. If you can't remember the whole of Suratul Jumu'ah, at least the 4 Asma'ul Husna. Malikul, Quddusul, Azizir, Rahim. And learn 1 ayah at a time. That's fine. In Isha, obviously, Jumu'ah in the first rakat and A'la in the second. I know it says to recite Dua al-Kumail, right? If you can't recite the whole of Dua al-Kumail, at least an extract. Just 1 little bit, and once you get into the habit of doing it, has an amazing effect. Quran as much as possible. My grandchildren call every day at 7 o'clock in the month of Ramadan. And it's amazing because you don't want them to, it's not about rocket science. It's not, I don't tell them, okay, today is the 5th day, you will have to recite the 5th juz. They can't do that. So you just tell them, recite 1 surah of Quran. One of them loves Ikhlas. One of them loves Qadr. One of them, it doesn't matter. It is Quran wherever it is. And they struggle to recite the different juz. You don't have to do the juz. Just make them recite Alhamd or Fatiha. And we only do the du'as that are like Ya Aliyu, Ya Adim, Allahumma Adkil. Very little. Iftitah, we will take 1 ayah. That's it. But you need to make it such a practice that on the Thursday after Ramadan, they will tell you, what am I reciting today? And then make a list of all your marhumeen. It's amazing. Grandfather, grandmother, I have my mother, my father, your aunts, your uncles, all of them. Get your children to pray for them. You do that, they will pray for you. Otherwise, they will forget. There's a wonderful story about the Prophet. He was sitting in the mosque of Medina on a Friday. These people had come for Salatul Fajr. And they saw him weeping and crying. And you know, at that time, all the cities had walls around them. So at the end of the night, the gates would be closed. And they said, Ya Rasulullah, what happened? Did you get news from outside? You know, did somebody die? And he said, no, your marhumeen made me cry. And they said, we don't understand. And he said, you forgot them last night. And this morning they came to me and they said, they don't remember us anymore. We were their moms, we were their dads, we raised them, we looked after them, and yet they've forgotten. When was the last time you remembered your great-grandmother? You might have her nose, by the way. When did you remember her? Who was she? Who was your great-grandfather? What did he do? You may have the way he talks. Do you know his name? I'm just asking you. Do you know her name? Who was she? You wouldn't be here if she wasn't here. She brought you into existence. That aunt, that uncle, that teacher who taught you how to read Quran, do you remember her? What about the one who taught you fiqh? I have my teacher sitting there. She taught me fiqh. It's amazing. And there is not a single shab or a single kunut that you don't remember them. But at least on Thursday, make a list. Your children will forget. They won't know who taught them. I was asking my son the other day. I told him about this person who every time he used to read du'as here. And I said, every time you read du'a and Quran, this man used to come up and give you £1. Who was he? And he said, Mama, uncle. But which uncle? What about his name? My son is 37, by the way. But we've got to do this as a practice. It's not just lip service that you do on a Thursday. Thursday wasn't made important because of that. You know, Friday begins on Thursday. You know, we have the night precedes the day, right? That's why you say Jumerat. Is that what you say? Jumerat, Laylatul Jumu'ah. It starts on Thursday night. So as soon as that comes in, those 24 hours, these angels are shouting out. Is there anybody out there who wants forgiveness? Is there anybody out there who wants their rizq increased? Is there anybody out there? There's an angel who's standing there calling, and we're saying, we're just hungry. There are du'as there. There's I think I've put it on the group. It's on the Kifatima update group. You can recite that. It's simple dua. Basically, it's talking about forgiveness. It says, forgive my sins. Nobody forgives sins except you. So Thursday night, there's another dua again, you recite 10 times. It's beautiful. Ya da'imul fadli alal bariyya. I'm sure you know this dua, one who gives limitless stuff. Again, forgive me. Now, if I came up to you and I said, forgive me, your first question to me will be, what have you done? And if you don't say it because you're really good, you will think, what have I done to her that she's asking for forgiveness? Now I know Allah knows, but it's good to know what I'm asking forgiveness for. Make a list. Code it, by the way, because you have prying eyes, right? You don't want them to know. But this is recited 10 times. Recite it once, it doesn't really matter. Okay, tomorrow. If you look at Imam Muhammad Baqir, the sunrise of Friday is better than all the other days. Even the birds say peace. My father used to wake us up early on a Friday, and he used to take us up to the terrace, and we could hear the birds chirping, and he would say, they're all saying salam. And you never forgot. You'd never, ever forgot. So every Friday when I wake up and I hear the birds outside, it's automatically, I tell my husband they're saying salam, and he says, yeah, right, okay. But they are saying salam, okay? So what do you do tomorrow? Before Fajr, 3 times istighfar. After Fajr, go into sajda. I don't think it's written here. After Fajr, go into sajda. 10 times Suratul Kafirun and ask for your hajat. I repeat again. After Fajr, go into sajda. 10 times Suratul Kafirun. Kul ya ayyuhal Kafirun. You can't read the whole thing because the child's jumping on your back. I don't think they'll do that in the morning. But if they are, just say Kul ya ayyuhal Kafirun 10 times. Allah knows. And ask for your hajat. You know Prophet Yaqub. You know what his sons did? What did they do? They put Yusuf in the well. Why? Because they were jealous. But they were his sons. He says, Sawfa astaghfiru Rabbi, I will in the future ask for forgiveness. And the Mufassirin tell us he waited for Friday. You have to wait for Friday. Like it's going to come, okay? You do ghusl. Imam Ali, the Prophet tells Imam Ali, if you can't afford food, if you have a choice between food and water, buy water to do ghusl. So ghusl of Jama'ah. Cut your nails. Okay, you don't want to cut your nails? Go to the beautician and have a... Okay, fine. No? Go, she'll cut your nails, she'll cut your feet. Go get it done. Go to the nail bar. But cut your feet, cut your nails on a Friday. Wear neat, clean clothes, I guess that's every day. I know I look at this and I sort of think of the days when my children were young. One of my daughters used to wear her school uniform at night before she went to sleep so she could have another 10 minutes in bed. So neat, clean clothes, my goodness. But on a Friday, she wouldn't. Every other day, she would go to sleep with her uniform because she'd say, I get 10 more minutes to sleep. But on a Friday, she wouldn't because wear neat, clean clothes. So that poster was up on her, near her bed, okay? Apply perfume. Don't tell your children that. Otherwise, your dressing table is going to be a problem, okay? Eat a pomegranate. I know you don't get good pomegranates in some seasons, but you do get a bit. It's supposed to open up your perception of inside. I'd give my children pomegranate juice the days when pomegranates are not available. Give them a little bit. If the doctor told you that every morning give them multivitamins or multivitamins, I have no doubt that you will do that. Will you not? The Prophet said, eat a pomegranate. A, it'll keep you healthy. B, it will increase your perception. Give sadaqah. And sadaqah doesn't mean putting that money in that box near your, I don't know. I'm not sure about you, but many people have a box near their door, and then if the change is getting a bit heavy in the purse, they put it in. Sadaqah means it should get to its person, to the people it needs to. Recite Quran, again, any ayah, okay? Spend some time learning about religion. Anything, absolutely anything. Religion is anything, it's absolutely anything. It is your furu, it is your usul, it is your ethics, whatever you want to do. We went about tasbihat arba, we did salawat, we did jum'ah, istighfar after asr 70 times, suratul ikhlas, remember your marhameen. And jum'ah is the day of Imam Mahdi ajalallahu faraj. Give sadaqah in his name. It says recite dua and dua, I know it's long, but at least look at it if nothing else. Okay, back to Surah Al-Duha. I hope they've given you the books. You've got some books there? And hopefully you will make some notes, right? So let's go to Surah Al-Duha. We started yesterday. Now if you look at Surah Al-Duha, let me just get back to my... So we started off by saying that Surah Al-Duha was literally the relationship between Allah and His Messenger. That relationship of love. I told you there was a gap in the revelation. And when that gap came, he was really sad. Really, really sad. So it starts off with Wadduha. And I mentioned to you the 3 times in the morning. Do you remember? We talked about Fajr. We talked about Duha and Shuruq. Somebody did come up to me and say that Shuruq is the time after Fajr. Yes, it's 20 minutes after Fajr, but it goes until late morning. Duha is in between. Okay, so let's just take Fajr, then Duha, then Shuruq. So you're taking the last part of Shuruq, right? You remember what I said about Duha? Soothing, early morning, bright, and stirring. That's what revelation does. And then we talked about وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا سَجَى, and the night when it is still, when it is calm. It's a time of reflection. Then I talked about these 3. This was comfort to the Prophet. مَا وَدَّعَكَ رَبُّكَ وَمَا كَلَى. Do you remember? Yes. وَلَلْآخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ لَكَ مِنَ الْأُولَى وَلَسَوْفَ يُعْطِيكَ رَبُّكَ فَتَرْضَى. Are you comfortable with that? Those are the 3 ayat of comfort, right? Then we talked about the 3 ayat of gratitude. أَلَمْ يَجِدْكَ يَتِيمًا فَآوَى. Did He not find you an orphan? And He gave you a place of rest, a place where you will look after. Ma'wa is a place of comfort. You remember I told you about that, right? Ma'wa? You remember that? You remember what isti'wa was? Any idea? That means you weren't listening. Where are we? Ma'wa, no? Is it because we're fasting that we're a bit slow? No? Isti'wa, anybody? Where a wound gets better. Are you good? Isti'wa. So did we not find you an orphan when nobody was looking after you? And you were hurt. It was difficult for you. But we gave you shelter. And the moment you think of that, you think of Abu Talib. Because he took the Prophet under his wing, right? وَوَجَدَكَ ضَالًّا فَهَدَى. We found you lost in the essence that people didn't recognize you. You didn't know how these people would understand the Quran, how such inhumane people would become human. They buried daughters alive. If you didn't match their social status, they would take you out. They didn't like it if you lived in council houses. They chuck you out, okay? So he's saying, we got these people to listen to you. وَوَجَدَكَ عَائِلًا فَأَغْنَى. We found you in need. Do you remember Ghani, number 88? Yes? And here you think of Sayyidah Khadija, because she's the one who enriched him. All right, now the 3 tasks. We didn't come there. So the first 3 was comfort. The second 3 was gratitude. And now the tasks. So how many ayat does this surah have? 11. The first 2 is oaths. Duha and Layl. The first 3, what was it? Come on, you got to help me here. Comfort. The second 3, gratitude. Now what do you do? فَأَمَّا الْيَتِيمَ فَلَا تَقْهَرْ. So when somebody who is an orphan comes to you, don't bully them. Don't be kahar on them. Kahar is really, really strong. I mean, I don't know how to tell you how far to say that. Don't bully them. Kahir is to dissolve something. You know, when somebody tells you something, and it's not very nice, you want the earth to open up and swallow you up. Isn't that a word they use, right? So it's saying, فَأَمَّا الْيَتِيمَ فَلَا تَقْهَرْ. When a yatim comes to you, and yatim doesn't necessarily only mean ones without a mom and a dad. One who has no refuge. When they come to you, don't bully them. Don't make them feel small. Don't belittle them. وَعَمَّ السَّائِلَ فَلَا تَنْهَرْ. And when somebody comes to ask you something, tanhar, nahar is a sea. When you go into a sea, the water flows. So when somebody asks you something, don't give them verbal diarrhea. Don't just go on and on and on and on and on at them. Calm down a bit. Khairul kalam kalla wa dalla. The best of speeches is short and to the point. When your child asks something, I mean, what do you do? All right, children, maybe you've got patience. What about your mom and dad? I spoke about it yesterday a bit. When mom and dad ask something, oh my goodness. Mom, again, I just told you. No. وَأَمَّا السَّائِلَ فَلَا تَنْهَرْ. This is talking about any sa'il. When it comes to a mom and dad, you've got to be completely different. You've got to put your wings of mercy under their feet. وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. And whatever Allah has given you, when it says talk about it, means share it. Whatever He's given you, just share. Doesn't matter. However little it might be. Share it. I say this every Ramadan, and maybe it's outdated now, but I'm going to repeat it again. I moved here about 38 years ago, possibly more than that, 39, 40 years ago. But before I moved here, I used to live in a small town in Essex called Chelmsford. And when I used to come from Chelmsford, we didn't have the centre, by the way. The centre was being done. We were all in the annex building. And iftar in Ramadan was in the annex building upstairs. The women were upstairs and the men were downstairs. You've been in the annex, haven't you? Okay. So I used to come with my children in Ramadan from Essex, which would take us a couple of hours, and we would come there. Now I specifically remember sitting on these sufras my first day, and you know people bring their dabbas. Do you bring your dabbas in Ramadan? No? Yes? Your dabbas with your tarelu stuff in it. Your sambosas and your kachoris and I don't know, whatever. So we're sitting here in a row, me and my 3 little children, and the person on this side passes the dabba to a friend on that side. I have never, ever felt so bad. Not because I wanted the food, but you just saw it move from here to there. Now, it might seem something that you do anyway, because you do it to your friends, but it's hurtful. It really is hurtful. So next time I thought I'd bring a dabba and just put it in the middle. Hopefully somebody would learn. And nobody does it purposefully. So when I'm talking to you lot, you got your toys, you got your child's, I don't know, whatever you have. I know children have allergies and you don't share. But ask. Can you imagine sitting there and a child's watching another child eat? It's not nice. And that's when he says, وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. Share, at least ask. There's nothing wrong in asking. I'll go a step further. If it was my child, I would be able to tell my child to sit down or not be naughty. But how come I don't do this to somebody else's child? I'm not talking about the little ones. I'm talking about the older ones. I'll give you another example, a very specific example. I know I'm being recorded, so it's a little bit funky. So you stood up for ziyarah. Yes? Your sister was next to you, and there was me in front of you. Your sister had a wedgie, and I had a wedgie. What you going to tell your sister? What you going to tell her? You're going to remove her wedgie, aren't you? But you're going to laugh at mine. So what does it say? وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فحدث. It's practicalities as well. Share as you would to those who are close to you. Are you good? You're not going to forget my wedgie again, are you? No. Okay. Right, let's go back because I can't go to another surah. وَالضُّحَى وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا سَجَى. 2 oaths. Number 3. 3 of comfort. 3, 4, and 5 are comfort. You know that. He's never going to leave you. Never going to leave the Prophet. Never going to leave you and me as well. Next 3, gratitude. These days they tell you, have a gratitude journal. Write down everything. The moment you feel bad, there's a wonderful story about a man who didn't have any shoes. And he's standing out the haram of Imam Ali and he's saying, Ya Ali, can you not even give me shoes? I don't have shoes. And there's an alim who walks by and says, if you are still standing here when I come out, you got issues. Because Ali always provides. Just as he's standing there, a man came out who had no legs. He was on crutches. And the guy says, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. And he walks away. So this is gratitude. Okay. Next 3, what you do. So when somebody comes to you, when there's a refugee, when somebody who has nobody over their heads, no parents, فَلَا تَقْهَرْ, don't bully them. وَعَمَّ السَّائِلَ فَلَا تَنْهَرْ. When somebody asks, no verbal diarrhea. And whatever you have, share. Are you good with that? I'm going to end with a story because I've got a couple of minutes. I come from a town called Moshi, small town. I told you my father died when I was 10. I remember one day there was torrential tropical rain and the graveyard in Arusha, which is about an hour's drive away, all the graves had collapsed. And my father had gone to help to build up the graves, to refill them again, to make sure the graves are all right. When he came back that night, I can still remember, he just sat on the sofa and he was really upset. And we said, why are you upset? And he said, you know that person who used to work for the mosque, who filled everybody's water cans in the toilet? The one they called Alai. Alai in Kachi means somebody who wears flip-flops, who doesn't tuck his shirt into his trousers, and he's like a really humble person. It actually comes from the word Allahi, okay? But they'll say, ito sao Alai. Right? He said, that man, my father said, I did his grave. And he said, when I moved the soil, and he had died 10 years before, it was as though they had buried him right now. And that is somebody whom everybody looked down upon because he was not anybody important. He didn't have any degrees after his name. He just helped out. So don't think somebody's a cleaner or somebody's a garbage picker and they're not important. That's why it says, فَأَمَّا الْيَتِيمَ فَلَا تَقْهَرْ وَأَمَّا السَّائِلَ فَلَا تَنْهَرْ وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. Are you good with this? You good with the surah? So inshallah tomorrow we will do Friday, we will do some Asma al-Husna and we'll do Inshira. Inshira is all about mountain climbing, inshallah. Okay? Right, can we end with the Surah Al-Fatiha? Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Close your eyes. Ask Allah to get the sawabs for all the marhumin, especially those of your family. Pray for those who are ill and those who are in trouble. لي خمسة أطفي بها حر الوباء الحاتمة المصطفى والمرتضى وأبناهما والفاطمة. جزاكم الله خير. Go.